So what happened? Yeah, Sinnerbrinks versus the rest of the world. That's, if you haven't read it, it's in the pin section of my Facebook page. And that was when we were attacked when we were children. I was reading on Facebook just recently. There was a guy, I forgot his Dave. He had a home invasion just yesterday, and I wrote something underneath because it really shocked me and it just brought me back. It was quite, serendipitous that thing. Well, it came up in my feed, and I hope you're well, by the way, Dave, if you're watching this. And I said, you need to attend the psychological the damage that this does, because I was talking from experience. Now, what happened to us? I was 9 or 10. I think I was 9. My sister was 11. My brother was 13, right? We had just come back from fishing, and it was about 11 o'clock in the morning. And there were 2 people sitting on the seawall. We live on the water. We live in a place called Woronora in the southern suburbs. And we live next to a boat shed that sells, that hires boats, and at the time was operating legally, selling meat pies and sort of confectionaries, whatever. Anyhow, these people bought a pie. They were sitting on a seawall, and our house was right up next to the fence. Basically, they were eating their meat pie on our property about 20 centimeters from our house. And it was really weird. We came home. We saw these people. My father's just said to my brother and I, so just tell them that this is private property. Could they eat somewhere else? So fair enough. So we went over. Luckily, my brother was the one who spoke, because he said, and my brother's very polite. He said, "Excuse me, this is private property. Do you mind eating your meat pie somewhere else?" The guy turned around and punched my brother in the chest really, really, really hard. I was standing right next to him. I was absolutely shocked. I just thought that, they would just get up and leave. I couldn't believe it. It was a racist attack. It was accompanied with "fuck off wogs this, fuck off wogs that." If you don't know what a wog is, it's a pejorative term that's used. Every country has their own, racial slurs, right? I don't have to say that, but that's the one in 1981. That was the one that, that's what we were, because we were ethnic. If you don't know, the Sutherland Shire is where the Cronulla riots happened. And if in the 90s, and to be honest, that was nothing more than the fulfillment of the racism that's around in this area, particularly at that time. It's better now. It is better now. I think more correctly, it's monocultural, in that it's like everyone's the same. Everyone's white Anglo-Saxon, and if you're not, you really stood out, and they didn't like it. They made it very clear. Anyhow, so what happened? These guys, they punched my brother and told us to fuck off. So anyhow, a big fight broke out. My father, and anyone who saw their kid, 13-year-old boy, being punched by a man, and he punched him like you would punch an adult. This is the thing. He punched him so hard that my brother fell back. He stopped. I thought he was going to die. He was winded. I was just in shock. There was a big fight. My father took on the guy, and the woman was bashing my mum. They were bashing each other, right? It was full on. There was a crowd that formed in the boat shed. They were watching, and then there's a park across the river, and they were watching too. I was standing in the doorway just crying. I mean, this was just horrible. I just couldn't believe it, what was happening. Anyhow, after it was done, we called the police. There was a report that was made. This was the beginning of a social anxiety. This the germination, the seed of a social anxiety that I developed. I think it's called anthropophobia, which is a fear of people and fear of being judged. And really what it was all about was, it's the safety of your home being attacked. I felt safe in my home up until that point. But these people, it's like a home invasion. That's why I kind of related it to what Dave was saying. But I was a kid when this happened. I was 9. And it was a little bit too overwhelming for me at the time. This whole thing was complicated by the fact that, let's just get rid of that. This whole thing was complicated by the fact that, when I was younger, I think my parents thought that I was precocious as a child. And I think that, I used to counsel them, to be honest. It's their marriage counseling by the time I was 10. I could sort of see what was going on. And I said, he's trying to say that, but you're hearing this. He's trying, And I think that my parents weren't very good when it came to emotional care for us. We actually took care of them. We always have. And even as children, we did. And so what happened was, of course, after this fight and all that, I was left. There was no post care. There was no aftercare. I was left to deal with it myself, right? And any kid who deals with it as a severe trauma, any kid who has to deal with a trauma by themselves, it's not going to work out well. It never does.